look, I'm just gonna say I have seen some criticism of, oh, you need to show your abs. It's an ab thigh shot.
Completely wild. Man, one thing I wanted to do with you, because I don't think anyone's ever done this sort of on a channel
Oh
that I
no.
know of before. It's nothing
Oh
too
no.
weird. I want to review, I want you to react to your physique from the 2023 Mr. Olympia because, dude, it was a crazy package. And the thing that shocked everyone the year prior when you came out with that extra muscle on your physique in the Open, where you placed second to Hardy Chupin, which I messed up in the introduction. Like when you hit that front relaxed and that front double bicep, I think people were just so wowed by the overall how you just come out from your waist, and you had a extra leg size this year, and I think it just completed that physique so much more, and it looked fantastic. But I want to get your opinion and go through it, and I'll pause it at a few different spots, and you can sort of say what you think. Because for me, when you see that that blew me away. So, what's your thoughts, and why did you choose to hit this sort of pose?
Oh, that's so funny you asked. And I love it that this is the first pose that you're bringing up because this pose was actually thought of right before I stepped on stage. Like literally, I was backstage thinking about my posing routine, and I was like, maybe I'll hit this pose instead. So I literally thought about it, and I just went out and did it. It was not something that I had choreographed earlier in the year. It just was probably like 2 minutes prior to hitting that pose that I went out and did that. So some of the stuff that I do on stage is impromptu, and that's the fun of it for me, man. As I don't like to be too choreographed. I'd like to have an idea, but I like to just have fun and be in the moment. That's my favorite thing about being on stage. I like the pose. It's something different. It's something unique.
Hmm.
I'm not seeing it here, but just thinking about it.
Even the way you're holding your legs too, like it's perfect because
Um,
it creates that perfect X frame. That's what I love about it.
right. Right. That I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to accentuate in that pose. Actually, was going to be more of that X frame, that V taper. And I just think like that's a pose that looks very, very clean and classy and aesthetic, and more of like a
Yeah.
statue esque kind of like classic physique type pose. And that's what I'm trying to do with you know, my physique as well. I'm trying to kind of bridge that gap between, wow, he looks aesthetic, like he could almost be like a classic guy, but man, he's also like a mass monster too. And like, so I want to bring that aesthetic look to the open.
Yeah, for sure. But let's watch on a little bit. Now, this was
Yeah.
for prejudging, wasn't it? I believe.
Um, yeah. Yeah.
So now this side. Oh wait, the lighting.
There you
Oh,
go. That works.
you can't. The glutes aren't. You were sitting
Yeah.
on them a little bit better before, but this side leg
Yeah.
glute tie in, everything from the side there. It seemed to be a bit extra this year, a bit more muscle there, and it seemed to be a
Hmm.
bit more cut in just with that maturity and just the
Yeah.
overall physique and the way this shot looks was definitely better this year. Did you
Yeah.
notice that a lot?
Yeah, I did, man. I mean, I've always seemed to bring, shredded glutes, but at the expense of the leg size. Whereas this year I was able to bring a little bit more fullness in the legs. So yeah, I mean, I definitely did notice that my side, or just I would say overall, my leg development and the conditioning in my lower half was good, man. For me, what I see when I look at this, because I'm my worst critic, is that I want to see my chest improve from the year before. And that right there, to me, I feel that I really brought up my chest. I know people had maybe criticized it in other poses at different times next to different competitors. But for me, when I'm looking at it for myself as developing my physique, I'm very proud of the chest development from the 2022 to 2023 Olympia right there. So.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm
Absolutely,
a
man.
guy who, when I first started out, dude, when I was an amateur bodybuilder, I had zero chest. Like literally, it was very hard for me to grow my chest. A little easier
Yeah,
for me to grow my back. you know.
Yeah, you did definitely have a flatter chest. I think
Yeah,
this pose improved a huge amount this year as well
yeah,
for whatever reason. I think it just came together so much more. It
yeah.
seemed like your abs, like, while you look at you standing next to Hardy Chupin, who has probably one of the
Uh-huh.
hardest sets of abs on the planet. So
Uh-huh.
you've obviously got a very tough comparison there. And that's when
For
people
sure.
that's always the shot, like, will be the hands together most muscular, where people go,
Yeah,
how did Derek beat Hardy? And it's like, turn around.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's what I say. I'm not saying you say that,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this this pose here, just the abs seemed tighter from the side, just the way it all just fit together. It seemed a
Mhm.
lot better. Did you notice that a lot from a year prior?
For sure, definitely the triceps are and the arms are a lot fuller this year.
Yeah.
Again, same lower half. I didn't really adjust too much in that lower half, but definitely a lot fuller chest, a lot fuller arms, and like you said, like the way just everything kind of flows together just seems to be a bit more proportional, with the added size actually. So, yeah,
Yeah, and when you see
and
them
I
moving as
actually,
well,
I'm
look
sorry.
harder. You just look harder when you're moving as well. Like when you
Yeah,
see those stills and you pause
yeah.
it, you sort of like, but you look at that and it's crazy. But so what were you saying before that?
I was saying I trained my abs a lot more, even in the off season last year, to get them a little bit thicker. Because people are saying, "Oh, we want to see like deeper ab separation and stuff from the 2022 Olympia to the 2023." So I definitely trained more abs throughout the year last year than I would have previously. Yeah.
Now, your back is obviously a standout part, and the
Uh-huh.
conditioning in your legs from a back is ridiculous. So it's quite ironic that Hardy has
Yeah.
such a crazy conditioned front, and his back was softer. Your back is hard as nails, and then your front's a little bit softer. It's like it makes
Yeah.
it so
Yeah.
hard for judges. Like I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, Hardy
Mhm.
White might win that front shot. Derek dominates the back. How much do you weigh that? So it's like, I can understand why some fans are like,
Yeah.
obviously Derek wins, and some fans are like, obviously Hardy wins, and
Yeah.
then they butt heads.
Sure.
But
That's
dude,
good for the
this
sport,
back
right?
double
That makes
bicep,
it That's what
yeah,
makes the competition great. I mean, you hear it from Jay Cutler's mouth. He says the rivalries are what create the competition and make it so great. So you had the Ronnie J show before, and the last couple of years it's been Hottie and myself. And so yeah, man, he like I said, he is an animal in the gym, and he puts his heart and soul into this, and so he really holds me accountable for sure. But what were you asking? Sorry.
I can't even remember, but I'll ask you about this
Yeah.
shot. What do you think about this shot? Because it is already one of the best back double biceps of all time. I've seen people on Instagram putting it next to Phil Heath's back double bicep, which is obviously 7-time Mr. Olympia. And then, Ronnie Coleman's, and people are putting you in there. And obviously, it's different lighting, it's
Yeah.
almost impossible to compare. But when you see this in the lineup, it looks completely dominant, and everyone just says, "Oh, yep, Derek wins that shot."
Mhm.
So what do you think of this shot on yourself, and do you critique it in any way and go, "Oh, I could be a little bit better here," or do you like, "I'm pretty happy with that"?
Believe me, man, I'm my worst critic. People out there that want to criticize me, trust me, I'm already looking at myself and going, I can be better here, I can be better there. Sure, that's good, but I still know it can be better. And that's one of these poses, man, where do I feel that that's my dominant poses? Without question. I mean, I think it was pretty knockout poses from the back, but I look at it and I go, that's good, but I know that we can continue to improve on that. I know that we can get a little bit fuller, get a little bit more muscle tissue in these different areas. But it's not just about adding more muscle tissue. It's also about getting things etched out and getting them more mature and hardened and seasoned too. So that's what I mostly see in my physique is that I don't need to add on a ton of muscle tissue. It's more about just the refinement. But even in my back pose, for sure. I mean, the moment you think that you have it in the bag, somebody's going to come up and they're going to challenge that. They're going to test it, man. So it's I like to think of it kind of like the first guy who ran the first 4 minute mile, right? Nobody. It was said to be impossible, right? If you could run a 4 minute mile, you would die before you could run a 4 minute mile. It's not humanly
Yeah.
possible. And then next thing you know, one guy did it, and then a bunch of guys did it. Well, I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to take my physique to the next level where it goes, wow, look at this X frame, look at this V taper, look at that vacuum shot, look at that back shot, look at this is just crazy. Have we ever seen this before? And again, not to put myself above any other champion that's ever graced the stage. That is not what I'm trying to do. What I'm saying is, I'm looking at myself and saying, how can I be the best version of me? How can I fulfill my greatest potential? And so when I look at that, I go, okay, it's good. Yes, but I know that we can continue to build on that for sure, because at some point people are going to try to test it in the future, whether it be, you know, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, at some point, people are gonna go, I think I can do that too. And they're gonna try to challenge that. And that's actually, you know what, as a Mr. Olympia and as a fan of bodybuilding, I hope that's true. I truly want to see this sport continue to thrive for years and years, decades, centuries in the future, man. So I just want to see whatever that we do now, take it to the next level. I want to see the next wave of guys do the same thing by seeing us, and they want to carry on the torch as well. I mean, that's what fires me up, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
And obviously, your rear lat spread. What do you think stronger, your rear lat or your rear double bicep?
I mean, they're both good shots, I would say. I like my back double bicep. I think it's a bit more dominant, but I think they're both good poses.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. I'd go the back double, but the rear lat spread is still right, right up there, obviously.
I think
Now moving through to,
my rear
sorry.
relaxed. It's my rear
Oh, yeah,
relaxed is one of my, it's not a pose, but just standing there. Yeah.
yeah. Now, Tarek Elgindi, I believe it was no, it was actually Tyler Mannion who did a video and they discussed the ab and thigh pose, and they said, I think they even said the vacuum's okay and hitting it from a side is okay and things like that.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty positive that's what Tyler Mannion said. Don't quote me on that
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But you chose to go with this one, playing up on your strength, the vacuum,
Sure.
flaring the legs out, creating that huge X frame. Was that a strategic thing that you and Hani discussed, or was that sort of discussed with
Yeah,
just
for
yourself? Or
sure. For sure. No, it's just like that first pose that you asked me about when I had that the bicep, flex. It's kind of like a half of a front double bicep, half of a front lat spread, right?
yeah,
So it's kind of like very similar to that, except I have my hands over my head. What I'm trying to do is really show off like the flaring lats, the small waist, the vacuum that I'm sucking in, and then also like the flaring legs too. So for me, look, I'm just gonna say I have seen some criticism of, oh, you need to show your abs. It's an ab thigh shot. Listen, I respect that idea, that thought, but you know, I personally love the shot. I not just because it's me, but I would love to see more guys hitting more of like a vacuum ab thigh, because that's what you see in the classic division, is that you see like the Chris Bumsteads, Ramon Urs, all those guys hit an amazing vacuum pose, especially like an ab shot. And I was simply trying to bring that to the open stage. I thought, okay, we have more muscle tissue on our frame, and I want to be able to do the exact same thing that these classic guys are doing, but on a bigger level, right? With bit more muscle tissue on the open stage. So it was kind of a two part. I thought it was a great shot for me, but I also thought it was something that was unique and interesting that you haven't really seen on the Olympia stage for the open division. So I really was surprised to get that feedback, kind of get that criticism of, oh, you should be crunching down. I really actually expected the opposite. I actually expected people to be like, wow, like, we really don't see this much. And it's that aesthetic proportions is something unique. Whereas you see someone like Hottie, and it's just chiseled obliques and hard abs, and he has an amazing ab thigh shot. So I don't take in anything away from him on that shot. I just think it was completely different. That was the one pose that I would say you could say is apples and oranges comparing,
yeah,
right? They were just
yep.
hit
I was
two
gonna say
completely
that.
different ways. Yeah. So for me as a fan, I love to see it. It creates some argument back and forth. Oh, I like it done this way. Well, no, I like it done that way. Me personally, like I said, I'm thinking a little bit of like the classic division and what you haven't seen in the open, and kind of bridging the gap in that area and kind of bringing that to the open stage.
Yeah, I really like that, man. And when you hit it, I think because I go live during the Mr. Olympia and basically
Hmm.
discuss it with all the fans, what's happening, and I was saying, I'm like, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this ab and thigh is fine to do, but I'm like, it is so hard to compare. Like, how do you compare that? And I'm going, like, Derek's is overall just so crazy impressive because of the
Yeah.
taper and the vacuum. And when do you see a guy that's
Mhm.
added the amount of muscle that you have having a vacuum like that? And I'm sure, like, I was thinking when you were saying all this and saying that the criticism that you might have got for hitting it this
Mhm.
way, I'm like, in 15 years' time, this photo or this screen capture is going to be out there
Yeah.
and be like, do you remember when Derek won his first Mr. Olympia? His waist was like the smallest we've ever seen on a Mr. Olympia,
Yeah.
and it will be seen as a nostalgic, incredible thing.
Yeah.
But at the time, you're winning Mr. Olympia, and people want to knock you off the perch, you know? Like
Right.
fans, that everyone wants to see who can beat Derek. And look,
Yeah.
my videos that I'm going to make prior to the Mr. Olympia is Rubiel, Mr. Olympia potential, and stuff like that. Because
Mhm.
one, you never know who can come in and win it,
Mhm.
but also fans get excited about the potential of a new Mr.
Right.
Olympia. So there's
Right.
very few guys that have been able to be Mr. Olympia and be pretty much universally loved, and they've still come with their hate. You know, Flex Lewis is one that comes to
Yeah.
mind while he's Mr. Olympia, but Jay and Ronnie, they didn't escape it, you know, like
Yeah.
that, even though it
Yeah.
wasn't social media times, but obviously dealing with it in social media times is a little bit more difficult. But
Hey, bro,
let's just
listen.
play
Hey,
it.
make all the videos you want, brother. But hey, bro, you gotta have my back, man. You gotta have my back this
Now,
year.
I've got your back. Unless unless you miss your peak dramatically or
There
something, and
you
then
go.
there's no
Fair
saving
enough.
you.
Fair enough. There you go.
But hitting this shot, Derek, now this is the one on your own
Mm.
looks fantastic. Put you
Yeah.
next to Hardy, and this is his strongest shot, in my opinion.
Right.
That hands together,
Right.
most muscular for Hardy is by far his strongest shot. So
Uh,
for this, are you going to hit this shot the same way like this next year, or how do you think about your most musculars? Because I love your hands on hips. That
yeah.
one's great, and then your
Uh-huh.
crab looks really, really good as well. But
Mhm.
how do you what do you think about your different most musculars?
I personally, I like it. I don't like the crab as much. I really don't. I mean, you can see a bit more
Mm.
striations coming across the chest and the arms with that there, but I don't like that for myself personally. I actually like the hands together clasp, like that one there. Um, I think if you took that photo and you compared it to someone like a Phil Heath or a Jay Cutler, you would see that, Phil had an amazing most muscular. That shot of his most muscular, like hands clasped together like that, is one of the best shots of all time, I think, especially, for him. But, you see the separation in the chest and shoulders like that and compare it to like a Jay or a Phil. I think they're a bit more comparable, where you got someone like Hottie who has even more a defined chest, and you know what I mean. So I don't know. I think if I don't want to say it's genetics or this and that. For me, I don't like to use the word genetics or that excuse, because I'm trying to go beyond that. I'm trying to find a way to be able to make it possible. So that's what I've been doing this year. Is that ever since I come off the Olympia stage, I haven't missed a chest workout since. I've even probably added in a couple extra chest workouts throughout the week, just to make sure that I'm staying on point. But I can already see that there's definitely some muscle tissue built from this past year's Olympia in the chest and arm area. And it's more about seasoning and refining it over time. So I definitely think over time you're going to see more and more separations and striations in that area. But one thing I was thinking about in the last pose I was going to mention, and now I can mention it about this pose, is like it's not just about one muscle or seeing just okay, like striations in this area. Like, back in the day you might have been able to make the argument that someone like Rolly Winkler having the best arms could have potentially been in a Mr. Olympia, if you're thinking just one body part, right? So if for me it's like, okay, you want to nitpick a little bit of the chest striate. I mean, if you look there, there's a load of chest striations, right? I mean, that's a pretty fair, dense muscle there. But compared to someone like Hottie, where it's just feathered across
Oh,
the
these are just
board,
like deep,
it is.
deep,
You have to give
fine
it to him.
lines. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you have to give
and
it to him, man.
that's what I think that's the main reason why you get absolutely
Yeah,
brutalized there. And
yeah, yeah.
everything you're saying is pretty much things I've said in my videos in terms of I think it's just seasoning the muscle, and I even see it on good friend of mine, Martin Fitzwater's physique as
Uh-huh.
well. He's granite from the back. You know, there's
Yeah.
like he's really crisp. His back's his strong point, and then he's got a few shots from the front where it's just not as crisp, and that's something that
Uh-huh.
he's working on as well. So he's obviously trying to do what you're doing and just get
Yeah.
that hard as front that
I
front as
mean,
hard as possible. So
no way, shape, or form did I have that much muscle tissue in my chest 2 years
no way.
ago. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like this is very fresh and new muscle. Whereas like my back and my leg, even my legs have been carrying a fair amount of size. But still, like, yeah, I would say it's just time. Like I said, I don't want to think of it as, oh, it's a genetic thing. I don't like that as like an excuse. Um, but I think that is where I've had the hardest time as like an amateur coming up to put on tissue. To even find the mind muscle connection in the gym was hard in the beginning for me. I think I was using a lot of shoulders and triceps when I first started training those first few years. Whereas these last few years, I've really had great connection with my chest, and I've seen like explosive development in that area. And for me, look, I look at that pose and I go, wow, like I'm really like proud of myself that I've been able to put on the amount of muscle tissue over the last couple years. But am I satisfied? Do I think this is the best I could bring? No, absolutely not. Like I think every year you're going to see something better and better and better for sure. For sure.
One thing I notice is, man, you talk like a champion. Like even just thinking like there's certain things you're saying, you're like, I don't even want to say it's genetics, like based
Uh-huh.
on that, because I want to push past that mentally because you don't want to put in
Yeah.
those limiting beliefs and
No.
go, oh, well, I can't get this as hard as this person, or I
Uh-huh.
can't get it this hard, or whatever, this
Uh-huh.
body part, or whatever. And I love that, man. It's so cool that you're like, I'm not putting that limiting belief on myself because it's like Sean Clarita. He didn't put that limiting belief on himself that he could be 212 Mr. Olympia. I never
Right?
would have believed it,
Yeah.
but he did.
Yeah.
And you probably perhaps at one stage didn't think, oh yeah, I'm going to win the Open Mr. Olympia in
Yeah.
2023. Like that would have been
Yeah.
maybe a slightly further away thought, but you just went did the process. But dude, I just wanted to discuss one thing on this pose as well. Your
Okay.
legs was something that you sort of got, well, not on this pose specifically, but just your legs from the front. You sort of like I've heard some people say Derek needs to bring up his legs. And I'm like, I'm looking at them. I see them when we're in the gym. I'm looking at
Yeah.
these videos and I'm like, your legs look big and they look uncomfortably big, especially when you're in the gym. You get to
Yeah.
notice because you're just walking around and they're just like
Yeah.
crazy. Why do you think, is it because proportionally you've got so much bigger everywhere and your back's so big? Why do you think people, even after this Olympia, some people said, oh, he needs to bring up his legs? And I'm like, are people looking at the same
Yeah.
pictures I am or
Yeah.
what? Like, how do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
I was quite surprised, man. Like if you take a look at the legs, like you're even seeing like cross striations in the inner muscles between like the hip flexors and the intermedialis and stuff like that. Not just in the teardrop or the outer sweep, but even in that middle part, you're seeing like the cross striations. It's just yeah, it's a lot of time in the gym, a lot of squats, a lot of leg press, a lot of leg movements. But I was kind of surprised to get that feedback myself. But I'll tell you this: if there's anything I can think about, um, from prejudging to finals, right? Prejudging when I was backstage. So this video will be from finals because it was like the posing routine. I was a bit fuller there with my legs. Um,
Mm.
at prejudging, I was backstage and it was good lighting around the tanning area, and I was kind of like we were taking pictures and some videos, and I was like looking at him, and I was like, man, this looks absolutely wild. Like that was the first time ever that I was like, dang, dude, like I'm bang on. Like this is next level like that I've ever seen from myself. So I'm backstage and I'm posing, I'm taking pictures and videos and all this stuff. And next thing I know, it's been like 45 minutes or an hour that I've been posing. And I thought, oh shoot, I need to sit down and rest. Like I'm burning myself out here. I
Yeah.
really need to like settle down because my adrenaline was going. I was excited. I'm like, let's go. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to get on stage. Let's do this. And then all of a sudden, Phil Heath comes over. He's like, hey, man, can you hit a couple more poses for me? And I was like, am I going to say no to that? Like, not only
Yeah.
not only do I want to pose for him and he can kind of like take a look, but also that'd be some pretty cool pictures to have too. And So I start posing again. Then another 20 minutes goes by. So I'm probably posing for an hour, hour and a half at least backstage. And then I get on stage, not thinking anything of it, posing, confident, feeling good, but also understanding that my competition is no slouch. Like I have to really take it to these guys. So like I need to not be too confident, but I need to have the right amount of confidence to go out here and pose hard, right? So I come off stage and then I thought to myself, I'm like, man, maybe I was a little flat actually. Like maybe I was a little flat towards the end of prejudging. And then when I came back for finals the next day, I was a little bit fuller, and I did not pose for like an hour and a half backstage. I kept my body a little bit more fresh, and so that was the feedback I actually got from the judges, and like Steve Weinberger, was that on Saturday I came back actually much better, whereas Friday I came in good. I was still leading, but Saturday is whenever I really came back better, and I'd have to give it to that. Being I was a bit anxious and excited. I felt good about what we were bringing to the stage. I was ready to rock and roll, and I just kind of got ahead of myself in terms of posing backstage and just trying to capture the moment.
Yeah.
When I should have just been a bit more focused, you know what I mean, about bringing it to the stage rather than getting the pictures backstage. But that's the only thing. The question was, why do people think that maybe my legs could be a little bit fuller? I think that could have been why. Was that at prejudging, I might have been a little bit flat, whereas finals I came a little fuller. But hey,
Dude, look what you do with
live
your
and learn.
legs. Is like the way you hit your legs, like as soon as like there, like the when you
Yeah,
flex them, like you
yeah.
look at them there, the way you hit them, they just go bloop out to the
Boop.
side. They just like pop out. Thanks for watching this one-on-one interview. And if you did enjoy it, give the video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button for more one-on-one interviews, contest coverage, bodybuilding news, plus much more. Anyway, guys, that's it for myself, Xavier Wills, here at Desktop Bodybuilding. I'm Xavier Wills, this is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are out.